You ever notice how small towns get real quiet after 10 p.m.? Like the whole place is holding its breath. I grew up in Ashford, population 3,200, where every streetlight flickers and you know the name of every cashier at the gas station. Nothing ever really happens, unless you count the gossip about whose kid got caught sneaking out, or the old story about the haunted rail tracks. But this ain't about ghosts, at least not the kind folks usually talk about. This is about the summer I started answering the midnight calls. It was one of those Julys where the heat sticks to your skin and you can't sleep. I was 17, working part-time at Mike's Grocer, saving up for a car that wouldn't embarrass me. Every night after my shift, I'd walk home under that orange, buzzing streetlight, past the rows of houses with their front doors propped open for the breeze. One night around 12:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. No one calls me that late, except maybe my cousin Tommy if he's drunk. But it was an unknown number. For some reason, I picked up. All I heard was breathing. Not creepy movie breathing, just normal, like someone was deciding if they wanted to talk or not. Then a click. Call ended. I put it down, shrugged it off. Next night, same time, same number. I answered, a little annoyed. Hello? Who is this? A voice, real low, almost like a whisper, just said,
Wrong house.
Then the call ended. That gave me chills. I tried to shake it off, but you know how it is when something weird happens at night. I got up, locked my window, and slept with my TV on. In the morning, I figured it was some dumb prank, but it kept happening. Not every night, but maybe every other. Always after midnight, always the same. Breathing, sometimes that same phrase, wrong house, or sometimes just a crackling sound like an old radio tuning in and out. I asked Tommy about it, but he just joked, probably old man Hargrove. He gets bored and crank calls half the town. But when I checked the number online, it didn't come up as anybody local. No name, nothing. One Friday, I stayed late at Mike's Grocer to help close. On my walk home, it felt like the air was thick, like something was watching me. My phone buzzed again, same number. This time, I let it go to voicemail. I listened when I got home, thinking maybe there'd be something that would give it away. But all I heard was my own name whispered like somebody was hiding in my closet. Alicia. That nearly made me drop my phone. Next day at work, Mrs. Elliott, who ran the hardware store, asked if I could help her unload boxes. She's lived in Ashford all her life, knows everyone's business. While we were stacking fertilizer, I told her about the calls, half expecting her to laugh. Instead, she got this weird look. Honey, did you ever hear about the old switchboard fire? Back in '88, before you were born. Whole side of Main Street went up. Lost 3 houses in the telephone office. They say ever since you can sometimes get calls that ain't meant for anyone living. I rolled my eyes, but later I found myself Googling it. The fire was real. Some folks even died. A couple nights later, I was up watching YouTube, trying not to think about anything scary. It was just after midnight when the phone rang. This time I didn't answer, but then something hit my window hard. I jumped up, heart pounding. It was probably just a branch, until I saw a handprint smeared right in the middle of the glass. My porch light flickered. No one was outside. I nearly called the cops, but what would I say? Someone left a sweaty handprint on my window after prank calling me for a week. Yeah, right. The calls started coming more often. Some nights it was nothing but static. Other times I'd hear a voice say things like, "Don't go outside," or "It's not safe." It was getting in my head. One night, while everyone else was at the summer carnival, I stayed home, too anxious to be around people. Midnight came and the phone didn't ring. I let myself relax, maybe even smiled a little. Then my landline, yeah, my mom still has one, started ringing. I picked up, thinking maybe it was her. Alicia? The voice whispered closer than ever. Come outside. My skin went cold. I hung up, but curiosity got the better of me. I peeked through the blinds. At the edge of the yard, just past the streetlight, I saw a figure, tall, back turned, not moving. I watched, not even breathing. Then the head snapped toward me like it knew I was watching. I stumbled back, knocking over my chair. When I looked again, the yard was empty. I slammed my window shut, locked every door, and didn't sleep at all. Next day, I went to the tiny town library. Figured if the internet couldn't help, maybe the old records could. I told the librarian about the fire, the calls, and the handprint. She didn't blink, just nodded like she heard this all before. Sometimes, she said, old wires get crossed. Sometimes the past tries to finish a call it never got to make. She handed me a newspaper clipping. In the photo, 3 people who died in the fire. One of them was a girl. Looked about my age, same curly hair, even the same tired look in her eyes. The story said she'd been trying to call her parents the night she died, but the lines were out. That night, the call came again. I was ready this time. Who are you? I demanded, my voice shaking. The line crackled. Then the girl's voice, soft, almost like she was crying. Tell them I'm sorry, I was just trying to come home. And then, for the first time, it ended with a dial tone. I never got another call after that. No more handprints, no more figures outside. The summer rolled on, the heat finally broke, and I went back to sleeping with my window open. People still talk about weird stuff happening in Ashford, but I keep my mouth shut. Because some things you just don't bring up unless you want to wake them up again. Sometimes, though, late at night, when the town's real quiet and the wind blows just right, I swear I hear a phone ringing way off in the distance. I don't answer anymore. Y'all. So I wasn't even gonna post this, but something seriously messed up happened after I went to donate blood last week. And it started off super normal. Like cookies and juice kinda normal, but now I'm scared to go to sleep. So I live in this small town, right? It's the kind of place where they set up booths at the farmer's market and still mail out paper newsletters. Last Friday, I saw a flyer at the coffee shop. Give blood, save a life. Just a little pop-up blood drive at the old rec center off Birch Street. I don't even know why I went. I hate needles. Maybe it was guilt or boredom or just, I don't know, something pulling me there. The setup looked janky. It was one of those traveling donation things. Red and white banners, a folding table with warm orange juice, and 3 nurses in scrubs that didn't match. One had a name tag that literally just said Louise in Sharpie. But the vibe? Office not scary yet, just weird. The fluorescent lights in the gym buzzed like they were about to blow, and it was cold, like basement cold. I sat in the folding chair, and the nurse checking me in, Louise, kept looking at my neck, not even subtle about it, like squinting at my veins. Then she smiled too wide and said, "You've got good flow." Typo? I was like, yeah, how'd you know that? She didn't answer, just motioned for me to follow her. I figured maybe it's just something they can tell. They took me behind a little curtain, and everything from that point felt, I don't know, slippery, like I was trying to grab onto reality, but it kept sliding out of my hands. There were no beeps, no machines humming, no other donors talking. Just me and the 3 nurses. They didn't speak to each other, not even once. When they hooked me up, the blood started flowing immediately. The bag filled faster than I expected, and I swear it was steaming, like it was too hot for the cold room. I mentioned it, made a joke like, "Damn, I'm cooking, huh?" But nobody laughed. The one standing nearest to me, a tall dude with hollow cheeks, just leaned in and whispered, "We don't get many typos anymore." My body tensed. I looked at the tube and asked if it was normal for it to look that dark. The nurse beside me said, "You're doing so good. Just stay still." Then the curtain moved, not like someone opened it, but like something on the other side brushed against it. Afterward, they handed me a cookie and told me to sit in the corner to recover. But instead of heading toward the waiting area, I got turned around and ended up at a heavy steel freezer door at the back of the gym. It was slightly open, and I swear I heard licking. I was about to turn around when I heard my name. Software whispered, but it was coming from inside the freezer. I froze. Like full-body chills, brain stopped working, froze. It sounded like my grandma, who's been dead for 2 years. I don't even know why I did it, but I pushed the door open. It wasn't a freezer, it was a storage room, completely dark, but with dozens of black bags stacked floor to ceiling. Not blood bags, bigger, body-sized. Some were moving. Then, in the back corner, I saw a metal gurney with a body on it, strapped down, and I swear on everything I saw it breathing. Something wet dropped on my shoulder. I looked up and saw a face, pale. Eyes rolled back, mouth sewn shut, hanging upside down from the ceiling like a bat. I ran. I didn't even know where I was going. I just ran out of that room, past the curtains, knocked over a table full of gauze and orange juice. Nobody stopped me. Not the nurses, not the other donors. But when I turned back one last time before hitting the doors, all 3 nurses were just standing there watching, smiling, holding 3 full blood bags each. When I got home, I had a mark on my arm, not just from the needle, but a second puncture deeper, like something bit me. The next day, I called the number on the flyer, disconnected. So I drove back to Birch Street. There's no rec center there anymore. I even asked around. One guy laughed and said, "Oh, that building? That burned down in like 2003. I didn't believe him, until he showed me the article on his phone. Since that night, I haven't been sleeping much. My dreams are messed up. There's always a freezer, and someone whispering my name from inside it. But the scariest part? Last night, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. My arm was wet. When I turned on the light, my bandage was soaked in fresh blood. And sitting on my nightstand was a full blood bag, labeled Type O Prime, with my name in red ink. If you see a flyer about a blood drive on Birch Street, don't go. You ever notice how some small towns got weird little rules that don't make sense? Like real weird, not just close your shops at sundown type weird. So anyway, this happened when I was 24, back when I had this delivery job where you gotta drive old folks' meds out to these dusty, out-the-way places. This one time, my boss gave me a route I'd never seen before, a place called Dredger's Hill. First thing I notice is that there's no highway sign for it. GPS kept freezing, then suddenly the road's in front of me, just a skinny black ribbon between pine trees. No cars pass me for miles. Even my radio starts picking up nothing but static and these old country gospel songs, real tinny, like they're coming from a busted jukebox. I roll into town around 6, sky all orange and smoky. Not a single house has a fence or a gate. Everything's wide open. The porches are creaking in the wind, front doors propped wide like someone's just stepped inside for a second. I pull up to the only corner store, which looks like it's been here since the 50s. Faded open sign flickering. Inside, this old lady behind the counter got one of those chain necklaces that hooks to her glasses, just stares at me. Doesn't say hey or nothing, just stares. I buy a soda and try to make small talk. She just says, "You're late." I laugh, like, "Yeah, ran into some traffic." She shakes her head. "You're late?" Whatever. I get back in my car, look at my deliveries. First house is maybe 3 blocks away, a 1-story with peeling white paint. I'm about to ring the bell when I realize the front door's not just unlocked, it's wide open. I don't want to be that nosy city guy, but I peek in. Living room's empty. TV's on, just blue static. I call out, "Hello? Mrs. Hatcher?" Nothing. Here's the thing though, the whole town's like that. Every house on that street, doors flung wide, TVs left buzzing, not a soul in sight. One front porch still has a steaming mug of coffee like someone just stepped away a second ago. At this point, the sun's dipping, shadows stretching long. I get this knot in my gut. I start to get back in my car when, out the corner of my eye, I see a guy in coveralls down the block just standing there, hands at his sides, facing away from me. Like he's looking at something in the woods. I call out, but he doesn't move. Suddenly there's this loud bang, like a door slamming shut behind me. My heart jumps so hard I spill my soda all down my shirt. I spin around, but the Hatcher house is just as empty as before. I swear I hear footsteps running upstairs, quick, too quick for an old lady. I ain't sticking around. I get in my car, lock the doors, and drive to the next stop, hoping to find at least one normal person. Second house, same deal. Door open, lights on, nobody. But then I hear something that made me freeze. A voice from the backyard just behind the fence line, soft as static. "Did you lock it?" I turn and there's a kid standing under a willow tree, hair hanging in his face. "What did you say?" I call out. He stares at me, then looks up at the sky. "Nobody locks up here," he says. "That's why we're still here." He walks off, just melts into the shadow of the tree. I feel ice crawl down my back. Now I'm really creeped out, so I head to my last stop, the town doctor. His office is the only brick building. Sign says closed, but the lights are blazing. I go in. Place smells like bleach and old carpet. As I step inside, my phone buzzes for the first time all day. One new text from a number I don't know. "Don't let it in." I whip around. The waiting room's empty, but I hear heavy footsteps down the hall. Then all the doors in the place slam shut at once. I nearly jump out my skin. And then, absolute silence, except for the tick of the wall clock. I grab my deliveries and bolt back to my car. I try to drive out, but every road keeps looping me right back to that damn grocery store, like the town won't let me leave. I try every exit, Main Street, Ridge Road, even the gravel service lane. Every time I end up at the same spot, the old lady just standing in the window watching. It's getting dark, so dark I can barely see. I see shadows moving in the yards now. Not people, just shapes, flickering between the houses. Suddenly something slams into the back of my car, rocking it hard. I glance in the rear view. For a split second, there's a face pressed to the glass, pale, wet, grinning way too wide. I scream and hit the gas. This time I don't end up at the grocery store. I end up in front of the very first house again. The front door is finally closed. I sit there, heart thumping, and realize everybody in this town leaves their doors open. Nobody's here. But whatever they didn't want to lock out is still inside. And as I fumble with my phone, desperate for a signal, I see in the mirror the kid under the tree staring right at me, eyes black as oil. He lifts one hand slowly and points at my car door, which is somehow wide open. I jump, heart pounding, as my car's dome light flickers off on its own. That's when I decide I don't care how many wrong turns it takes. I'm not stopping, not looking back, not ever coming to Dredger's Hill again. But sometimes late at night, my phone will buzz with a text from that same number. Just 2 words: don't lock up.
Let me tell you about something that happened to me back in early May, right before the summer heat rolled in. I grew up in Mabel Ridge, a no stoplight kind of town in central Missouri. Nothing ever really happened there, unless you count the occasional cow getting loose and wandering into the Dollar General parking lot. But that spring, there was something different. Not the weather or the people. Just this weirdness that kind of drifted in one day and never really left. It started with the crows. Now, we always had crows, but that year, there were hundreds of them, maybe thousands, sitting on the old telephone lines that crisscrossed over the main drag, all the way from the post office to the abandoned sawmill. People would joke about it like, "Ha! Hitchcock's back in business," but the birds weren't doing anything, just sitting, watching, like they were waiting on a show. The first real weirdness came when Mrs. Gleason's dog disappeared. Her house is right at the edge of town, just before the woods start. She posted a picture of Duke on the Mabel Ridge Facebook page asking if anyone had seen him. The comments were filled with folks saying stuff like, "Sorry, haven't seen him." But one person, I won't name them, wrote, "Probably got eaten by those crows." Everybody laughed, except Mrs. Gleason. Then the power started going out at night, just for a few minutes right around 11:15, for 3 nights straight. The weirdest part was, every time the lights came back on, the crows would be gone, all of them. And when morning came, they'd be back, just sitting, lined up like little black soldiers. That's when the nightmares started. Almost everyone I knew had them, but nobody really wanted to talk about it. My best friend Cass broke the ice one night while we were sitting on her porch, pretending we weren't watching the crows watching us. She says, "You been having any weird dreams lately?" I just kind of shrugged, not wanting to seem weird, but I said, "Yeah, every night since Duke went missing." She nodded, and her voice dropped. "I keep dreaming I'm in the woods, but it's not the woods. It's darker, like the trees are too close together. I keep hearing wings, but I can't see anything. And something's chasing me." I told her mine was almost the same. Only in mine, I always wake up at the same time, 11:15. The next night, Cass didn't answer my texts. I figured she'd just fallen asleep early. But in the morning, her mom called me, asking if I'd seen her. She hadn't come home. The whole town turned out to search. They found her bike at the edge of the woods near the creek that runs behind the sawmill. And there, on the muddy ground, were dozens of those big, ugly black feathers. No blood, no footprints, just feathers. After Cass went missing, the crows started getting bold. They'd land on porches, peck at windows, crowd around the playground at the elementary school. You couldn't go anywhere in Mabel Ridge without feeling like you were being watched. One night, after the power cut out for the 6th time, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my room, looking out the window. The street was pitch black, except for these pairs of red glints, low to the ground, moving through the darkness. At first, I thought it was just the light reflecting off the crow's eyes, but they were everywhere, moving, blinking, staring straight up at my window. Then one of them slammed into the glass, hard enough to rattle the whole window. I jumped back so fast I nearly fell out of my chair. When I looked again, all I saw was a black smudge on the glass and feathers falling in slow motion. I tried to tell my parents, but they just said it was probably a bat or the wind or whatever. Grown-ups in Mabel Ridge never want to admit when something's off. That next morning, Sheriff Dobson knocked on our door. He wanted to know if I'd heard from Cass. I told him about the crows and the weird dreams, and for a second he just looked at me, like maybe he believed me, or maybe he was having the same dreams too. Days went by. Nobody found Cass. More pets went missing. The crows got louder, circling over the woods, screaming and cawing whenever anybody got close. Then came the night the crows left, just gone. All at once, around 11:15, the sky went silent. I remember the air was thick and heavy, like just before a thunderstorm. But there was no rain. That's when I heard the scratching at my window. I pulled back the curtain, expecting to see a crow or a branch, but it was Cass. Her face pressed to the glass, her eyes wild, her hair all tangled and full of black feathers. She whispered, "Help me." I screamed and stumbled back, but when I looked again, she was gone. All that was left was a single black feather and a smudge of mud on the windowsill. The cops searched the woods again, but nobody ever found her, or any of the missing pets, or the crows. Eventually, things went back to normal. The power stopped flickering, people quit talking about nightmares, and the grown-ups pretended none of it ever happened. They even started saying Cass probably just ran away. But I know what I saw. And every spring, right around May, I start seeing crows again. Not a lot, just one or two, sitting on the wires, staring, waiting. Some nights, if the wind is just right, I swear I can hear Cass calling from the woods. I don't go outside after 11:15 anymore. I just sit inside, lights off, and wait for morning. Because if you look out into the dark in Mabel Ridge, you never know what or who you might see staring back.
You ever get that weird feeling when you drive into a small town and realize something's just off? That's how I felt pulling into Kellerman Population. Barely on the sign, dust hanging in the air, not even a gas station open past 9. I wasn't even supposed to stop there. I was on my way to visit my cousin in Nashville, but my car was already screaming for gas and my eyelids felt like sandpaper. So I rolled down Main Street hunting for a cheap motel or just anywhere with Wi-Fi and coffee. Main Street looked straight out of an old movie. 2-story brick buildings, a barber shop with a striped pole, a hardware store with rusty bikes out front, a diner called Darla's. There was even one of those shops that sells gifts and curiosities, you know, the type that's mostly ceramic frogs and t-shirts with corny sayings. I finally found a sign. Edison Motel, vacancy. Half the bulbs in the sign were blown, but whatever. I checked in with a lady who looked like she'd been born behind the counter. She slid me a key and said, "You're in room 4. Don't mind the train, it goes by every night." Cool. Whatever. I was just happy to crash. The room was tiny. One window, sheets with faded roses, that old motel smell of air freshener and something underneath it. I set my bag down, plugged in my phone, and lay there staring at the ceiling. That's when I heard it, the train. Except it didn't sound like a train. More like metal scraping and a deep vibrating hum like somebody dragging a dumpster down the street. It made the glass in my window rattle. Then it was gone. I tried to shake it off. Small towns have weird noises, right? But right as I was about to doze off, I heard footsteps outside my window. Crunch, 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 slow, heavy like boots. I froze. I told myself it was just some other guest, but the footsteps stopped right outside my room. I peeked through the curtain. Nobody. Heart racing, I locked the door, then double-checked it. Lay back down. Forced myself to sleep. The next morning, I walked over to Darla's diner for breakfast. The bell over the door rang and everyone stopped and looked at me. I mean everyone. Even the cook in the back, a dude with a bushy gray mustache, poked his head out. You know that feeling, like you're not supposed to be somewhere. I felt it heavy, but Darla herself was nice enough. Poured me coffee, handed me a greasy menu. She kept asking where I was headed, why I stopped, if I needed a map. I played it cool. Just passing through, I said. When I left, I saw the old lady from the motel in a booth talking to the cook in whispers. I pretended not to notice. I figured I'd stretch my legs and wander around. I ended up in that gifts and curiosities shop. I was the only one there, at first. I'm flipping through a rack of postcards when I hear something fall. Clang. I jump about a foot in the air. Some wind-up tin toy is spinning on the floor behind me, making this grinding whir. It hadn't been moving when I walked in. I pick it up and put it on the shelf. The old man behind the counter just stares at me, not blinking. "You folks just passing through never stay long," he says. "Not after dark." I tried to laugh it off, but he just kept staring. I got out of there quick. The whole day I got the feeling people were watching me. Little kids stopped playing and stared. A group of teens at the gas station snickered when I walked past, then went quiet when I got too close. Even the stray dog seemed to keep its distance. By the time the sun started going down, I was feeling real uneasy. I grabbed snacks at the gas station and went back to my room, figuring I'd get some rest and leave at first light. That night, right around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of whispering right outside my door. I sat up, heart in my throat. It wasn't loud, but it was there. I heard feet shuffling, maybe 3 or 4 people, then bang! The door rattled hard like somebody had tried to kick it in. I nearly screamed. I ran to the window, yanked the curtain aside, nothing. The parking lot was empty, just my car and the neon motel sign flickering. But the footsteps kept moving right past my window, back toward the street. I called the front desk, no answer. Too real, I was done. I threw my stuff in my bag, planning to get out even if I had to drive on fumes. When I got to my car, there was a note under the wiper, handwritten, shaky penmanship. "Don't leave. Not yet. It's not safe." That was it. I looked up. Every light in the motel was off except mine, and the whole street was pitch black. That's when I realized the whole town was dark. No streetlights, no windows glowing, nothing. Just my headlights and a kind of thick, heavy fog rolling down Main Street. I tried my engine. It stuttered. Click, click, click. My phone dead. Not out of battery, just blank. I was about to go back inside when I heard that metal dragging sound again, the one from last night. But this time it was closer. I saw a shadow in the fog, huge, lumbering, dragging something behind it. It was coming straight down Main Street toward me. I panicked. I ducked behind my car, barely breathing. The thing moved past, dragging a long, glinting chain attached to nothing. Its face. I swear I saw empty holes where eyes should be. It kept going, disappearing into the fog. The dragging sound faded. When I finally opened my eyes, it was light outside. The street was normal again. Kids biking, shopkeepers sweeping their stoops, sun shining bright. My car started like nothing happened. My phone powered up. I checked the note on the windshield. Gone. I went inside the diner, hands shaking, ready to yell at somebody, demand answers. But nobody acted weird. Nobody even seemed to remember me. Darla just smiled and poured me coffee. "Passing through?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, just for a night," she winked. "That's what they all say." I got out of Kellerman before noon. Never went back. Sometimes, though, late at night, I hear that dragging sound, metal scraping just outside my window.